Welcome to the Andrew Zimmel Podcast, another episode for you guys. We put a bunch of them out, so hopefully you guys are listening and you like them. This one is near and dear to my heart. We have our close friend Parker Rhea, Astros fan, talking to us about the scandal that right now is breaking up Major League Baseball. So really excited to talk to him about that. We talk a little bit about Houston sports at the very end of it. So if you're a Houston sports fan, this one is for you. Please, if you like what you hear, send it to a bunch of people. Here's the intro, then we're going to go into the interview. Thanks, guys.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Oh, excuse me for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
How's it going?
All right, on the phone line right now, we have our resident and senior Astros fan and reporter, Parker Rhea. Parker, your team is in hot water like they're a bunch of lobsters. How are you feeling right now?
Hey, man. Well, when this whole thing started, we were kind of going back and forth at it because I know you like to represent the Yankees and that side of things. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're upset. Everyone's upset with the Astros. Obviously, I'm even a little upset, too.
Before we get too much into it.
It doesn't change. Okay.
Before we get too much
I was just going to say. Go ahead.
I want you to explain to the listeners, I want you to explain to the audience what has happened from your point of view. From an Astros fan point of view, how are you looking at this, cheating scandal in quote unquote?
Well, I know a lot of Astros fans are very upset with so let me just break down the time frame of the whole thing. So they win the 2017 World Series. That was the year the MLB report was talking about the cheating happening 2017 and 2018. There was a lot of cheating going on. After 2018, the MLB said, well, okay, we really couldn't find anything going on. And people were talking about buzzers too. There was no evidence of buzzers, all that stuff either. So it did kind of take on a life of its own. Yes, there was cheating in 2017, guaranteed. The year they won the World Series, that was disappointing. Going back, then they make it all the way to 2019. They make it again. They have a hell of a season. No evidence of cheating during that year. They make it to the World Series, Game 7. Obviously, they lose. So I was upset after the World Series loss. And then the news came out that they were cheating in 2017. So I was obviously double upset. But at the end of the day, I don't think the cheating allegations and all that stuff, it hurts. Obviously, it hurts, and it's something that the other fans that are not in Houston can use as fuel, and people will continue to use as fuel. But I'm looking at it as like, if it's still technically a championship, and I know what it meant to the city of Houston in 2017 after Hurricane Harvey in that year, I'm still as excited about this year going into 2020 as I have been before baseball season in a very long time. I'm excited to see how the Houston Astros respond. I'm a little upset with Jim Crane. I think he overreacted by firing Hinch, by firing Jeff Lunau, especially Lunau. I don't know. He's one of the best GMs in my mind. I don't know why you would have to go and fire him. I think he overreacted. But all in all, I'm kind of excited to see where the future goes. A little nervous because Lunau's gone now. But I'm excited to see where the Astros go from here. And I still think they have at least a pretty good team going into 2020.
All right, so for the audience that doesn't know, the cheating scandal that has occurred or is rumored to occur, alleged to occur, is that 2017 pennant race that the Astros were on. Now, I don't think anybody in baseball, anybody that follows the sport, can disagree that the Astros were head and shoulders better than every team in their division. I'll even say that they were probably head and shoulders better than a lot of teams in the American League. Here's where my issue stems from, is that if there is any sort of cheating that did occur, which has been reported to have happened, with the trash cans banging in the trash cans to figure out if it's a fastball or non-fastball. This is where my problem lies. I have an issue with it because this has single-handedly ruined the career of Clayton Kershaw. Like, this felt like the nail in the coffin of Clayton Kershaw's career. A Hall of Fame career to this point, mind you. But his failure last season, or I'm sorry, 2 seasons ago in 2017, really, I think, solidified in a lot of people's minds that this is not a winner, that he will never win at the championship level. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that's fair, as long as you agree that it wasn't just 2017, it was also 2018 too, when the Red Sox did it as well. I mean, there was two main guilty parties. It was the Red Sox and the Astros, and I'm curious to see. I know they suspended Lunau and AJ Hinch for a year. I'm curious to see I know Alex Cora has stepped down or been fired. I know Carlos Beltran has stepped down. But Carlos Beltran and Alex Cora, those were the two names that kept coming up in the report. So I'm really curious to see how Alex Cora, if his future in baseball, what's it going to be? And I'm curious to see if Carlos Beltran, if those two guys will even have a future in baseball, because I still feel like Hinch and Lunau, I feel like a team after this year, one team is going to pick them up, or another team's going to pick them up. One of the teams are going to probably make a move on those guys. But as far as Kershaw goes, it's very upsetting. I understand where you're coming from on that perspective. I really can't. It's really upsetting because as a player and as a guy watching Kershaw, he suffered. He had to go against the Astros who were cheating, and then he had to go against the Red Sox who were cheating. And both those offense looked almost too good to be true. I mean, when you were watching them, you were like, how are these guys hitting everything they see? And now, it's a combination of cheating and the fact they had really good players. But man, it was really devastating. If you're a Kershaw guy, I understand the frustration, and there's really just there's no defending that. If you're Kershaw, you're probably very upset right now.
You can go back and listen to the old show where I talk about if the Astros would have won the title this season, if they didn't lose to the Nationals, if they would have won the title this season, I was going to put them in the conversation as one of the best dynasty teams in the last 30 years. And then the Red Sox were hands down the most dominant offense last year, and one of the most dominant offenses in baseball history. Now, this is another point that has been levied, I think, against the Astros and against the Red Sox and against all the players who cheated on both those franchises, or allegedly cheated on both those franchises. What do you say to the people who say that this is as bad or worse than the PED scandal that went through the mid-'90s to early 2000s?
No, I think okay. So the PED scandal is an interesting thing, and I really have to calculate my response, because I know when you're cheating, when you're stealing signs, that's one thing. When you're using technology to steal signs, it does advance it. It does make it a little bit extra, because we're in an era of baseball where there's technology, there's analytics, there's always people dissecting the games. Everybody, I was listening to Pete Rose on one of the Houston sports stations here in town, and he was talking about how every player pretty much has like an iPad or something in the dugout. They're always watching, they're always analyzing things, so it is really easy to use technology in order to cheat. And the Red Sox and Astros, they were kind of, obviously pioneering that. And I think if Robert Manfred didn't do what he did and stamp it out like he did, and to give Jim Crane some credit, he stamped it out too the best way he knew how, was to fire those guys and really just start over from that perspective of the coach and general manager, really just try to clean house from that perspective and say, hey, we want to stop this, because it is. I do compare it a lot to the PED thing and how it just kind of got widespread and it kind of took a life of its own. Did it make for some exciting baseball? Sure it did. It was fun watching those guys hit home runs and do their thing, and really, it was a fun time. They made contact, and instead of a single, they were hitting it out of the park. So it definitely was, I think, good for the sport of baseball as far as excitement. But then the backlash of, the integrity and stuff like that. The question really lies is the fans, as true fans, do they really, or not even true fans, just average, everyday baseball fans, not like you or me, but people who just kind of, they're kind of into sports, but hey, the baseball team's looking good, let's go watch a game. How are they more interested in excitement and a lot of runs being scored, or are they more interested in integrity of the game? That's where the big question lies.
See, I would agree with you in the fact that the average fan might want more runs scored, but you already have the controversy right now with the juiced balls. How this season had more home runs than any season in the past 30, 40 years. This is where my line is kind of drawn to, is that if you're going to cheat, like the Astros and Red Sox allegedly did, then there has to be some sort of punishment for those players. And that's what Major League Baseball, I think, is failing to do right now, because the players who came forward got essentially a free pass. They got a get out of jail free card to say, hey, no, we did this. This is how we did it, to help baseball forward, protect themselves and police themselves. What do you have to say about that? Because right now, current day, 2020, we're not going to see Correa or Altuve or Bregman or any of those Astros miss any time. For right now, as we're recording this, they're not going to miss any time. How do you feel about that?
It makes me, it kind of in a roundabout way kind of makes my point of, obviously the commissioner wanted to stamp it out. Jim Crane wanted to, all these big name owner guys and the commissioner, Robert Manfred, he wanted to stamp it out, but he also didn't want to get rid of all the talent involved, because there was some really big name players, both on the Astros and on the Red Sox, that would be missing time. And I think he looked at it and said, listen, we need to act like we're doing something against this to stop it. But maybe he didn't go far enough, is what some people are going to say, and say, well, hey, they need to stop the players. I'm obviously glad they didn't suspend the players for personal reasons. I'm really glad the players are still here and the Astros are still going to be good next year. But I can understand if you're an outside fan and you're looking at this like, dang, the players really got off scot-free. You're right. The players did get off scot-free, and that's just, I guess, how things go, because the fans want to see the players. The fans don't care about the GM. The fans don't care about the coach. They care about seeing the players, and that's where I guess Robert Manfred could have went full throttle, but he kind of pulled back on it.
And that's where I have my biggest issue, is that I think that if you're going to do something like this, you need to make it definitive. You need to name the players who were caught in this cheating scandal. At least that's where I'm coming from, is that if you don't do that, as everyday baseball fans, we don't know if somebody like Altuve or somebody like Correa or somebody like Bregman, if their numbers increased. Because when we look at the postseason numbers and we look at baseball, it's all on the numbers, right? Like, that is kind of how the story is told. No doubt. If Altuve's batting average jumped from, say, 320 to like 340, 350 because of this in the postseason, that's where I'm like kind of looking at it a little shaky. Like, how many home runs did this team have? How many singles? How many games did this team win because of this? And I mentioned this to you a little bit off air. I said that if I'm voting for the Hall of Fame, what does this do? Because Clemens, Bonds, Sosa, McGuire, those guys are blacklisted. Alex Rodriguez, blacklisted. We're not going to see their names in any Hall of Fame. Is Altuve and Bregman going to be the same way?
Yeah, it's tough. And, I mean, it's honestly, it brings up a good point. I mean, I don't know if this just contaminates their whole career, because I don't know. I feel like Altuve was a good player way before all of this. And I don't know, Bregman, it could really follow him throughout his career, probably even more so. It's going to be interesting to see how Bregman really responds to this, because those are the two guys I'm thinking about. I mean, Correa, borderline. It depends on how his career goes. I'm not sure. Obviously, Springer, those other guys, they're great players. I love them, but the main two I'm focusing on are Bregman and Altuve, because those are the two guys that you look at and say, oh, these guys were MVP caliber guys. These guys could potentially be Hall of Fame guys. I mean, Altuve, if this didn't happen, I mean, you would agree, if this didn't happen, Altuve was pretty much a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame already, right?
First ballot. First ballot, yeah.
Yeah, so this really does hurt his chances. I would like to think, I mean, it really does depend on how things shape out from here on out. It's gonna be hard for him, man. It really is. I really am saying, I was taking the side of, yes, the World Series is always going to mean something to Houston fans. I was kind of taking that approach and saying, well, yeah, it's still going to always be a special World Series that year, 2017. It's still, nothing will ever take that away for the fan perspective. But from the Hall of Fame, from the numbers perspective, I do want to also throw in that Altuve was actually in the regular season and was actually better on the road than he was at home. And the Astros were actually one of the best road teams on the road that year in 2017. So there's a lot of stats that actually helped the Astros. and help their counter argument. But still, the fact that they cheated, the fact that there was the banging of the cans, it really does hurt those things, even though I'd like to think those players are still very good. And I think this 2020 season, I think they're going to prove that they're still very, very good players.
Pitching-wise for the Astros, Verlander had to know about this. What is that going to do for him, do you think?
Oh, Verlander is always so outspoken on things. I saw one little clip on Twitter just recently. It's like he always talks about the juice balls, right? He's always the first person to kind of complain about that. But then when this kind of came out, obviously the players, they can only say so much for legal reasons. I get that. I'm really surprised to see, because during the summer stuff, or not the summer stuff, but during the off-season stuff, they had some kind of fun Astros camp thing recently, and a lot of reporters went up there, and they talked to Bregman. They didn't talk to Altuve, but they talked to Bregman, they talked to Reddick, and a couple other guys were there. And I don't know if Verlander showed up or not. I'm surprised if he did. I don't think he did. But all those guys were keeping very, very hush-hush about the whole thing. So I'm really curious to see. I mean, from a Verlander pitching perspective, it makes me think, like, I don't really know how bad. I mean, if he knows about it, it really is bad, because apparently Fiers knew about it. And as soon as he left the Astros, he decided it was time to tell. He was fine with keeping it hush-hush until the narrative fit his benefit. But once he left, he was fine with talking.
Hold on.
I don't know. I mean,
to be fair, if you're opposing pitcher on another franchise, you know, like, oh, the Astros are stealing signs. I'm gonna have a terrible.
Oh no, I don't blame him.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to.
But I don't know. No, I'm saying if he's so that's what I'm saying. If he's part of the team, it's really hard to be a rat when you're on the team and things are going well. So I don't really hold that against him. Like I wouldn't hold it. Like, see the same thing with Fiers. When Fiers was on the team and he was doing well and he won the World Series, it was all hush-hush. But as soon as he left, obviously, it was time to speak up. So I think as long as Verlander was on the team doing well and pitching, I mean, there was obviously no cheating that helped the pitchers. The pitchers were still great. The pitchers still went out and performed great against the Dodgers and against the Yankees in those years. I mean, there was still no cheating in that respect. So there really was no reason for them to get too vocal about it until the narrative fit Mike Fiers, and he left, and he was like, okay, well, now I can be vocal about it. That was my kind of counterpoint to the whole thing, is if he really cared about cheating, why did he wait until he was gone? I don't know. It just didn't really make any sense to me.
All right, I'm going to give you a minute to tell me about the rest of Houston sports with the Rockets and the Texans. They've both had some up and down times recently. Give it to me right now, Parker.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Texans, Bill O'Brien, trash. Houston Rockets just got done playing OKC. They blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. Things just look discombobulated right now for the Rockets. I think they are 4-6 in their last 10 games. They're all the way down to the 6th seed. They were like the 2nd seed before this whole trash run started. I mean, they've lost like last 5 out of their 6 games. It's been really bad for the Houston Rockets. That's the team I'm focusing on right now. Going back to the Texans, they blew a big 24-0 lead to Kansas City. I mean, Houston sports right now, it's pretty dark times for me, Andrew. I'm not going to lie. All around pretty bad. I don't know where the Texans go from here, and I really don't know where the Rockets go from here. It's looking like some pretty bad times.
Parker, it's always great to talk to you. As we get updates on this Astros scandal, we're going to check back in with you. Thanks so much, man.
All right, appreciate it, buddy.
You can check Parker's workout at ParkerRay1 on Twitter. He's a Houston sports guy. He's the host of the Cougars Corner and of the Power Move Parker podcast. So we thank him again for coming on. He's going to come on a lot more, knock on wood, hopefully. Here's the thing, too. We're on Spotify. We are on a bunch of different sites. Essentially, wherever you can get your podcast, we are there. So, young podcasts, we're growing, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Send this to your friends. I know a lot of you got Houston sports friends. This is a good one for them to listen to. So, we're putting out a lot of good content. I hope that you guys have liked them so far. We got a bunch more for you coming up as the weeks continue. Thank you so much for listening. Love you guys. Bye.